Keith Kellogg, Trump's special representative, was for a long time generally considered a quite reasonable figure, and even an advanced one when it came to the Russian issue. But suddenly, Keith Kellogg, too, started speaking in the rough language of absurdity. And now, as it turns out, well, the United States, once again, this time, they want to stop the fighting along the current front line. And this is the most interesting part, bring the Russian Federation back into the civilized community. Well, it certainly seems that things are really bad in the United States. And it's not just Trump himself who's a utopian, but his entire entourage as well. But in order to stop the war along the front line and bring the Russians back into the global community, well, at the very least, it would require very reliably burying Putin. But even that won't solve the problem. Apparently, Kellogg, who came up with this idea together with Trump in the Oval Office, will have to personally manufacture at least 10 million luxury aspen steaks, and before laying them in coffins, organize the driving of these steaks into the hearts and foreheads, starting with Putin. Then the entire state apparatus of the Russian Federation, the State Duma, the government, the stables, the entire Russian Orthodox Church, the elite, the pop stars, the press, and so on and so on. Because otherwise, it is absolutely impossible to return the Russian Federation to the civilized community. This idea is as much a joke as it is childish. Moreover, yes, this driving in of stakes will have to start with Putin, who has spent so much effort to lead Russians away from the civilized world community and turn them into a nation of cannibals. And what do you want for this Kremlin old woman to be left with nothing? The old woman clearly does not agree. Moreover, it's not at all certain that all the other Kremlin accomplices will be thrilled and will just rush to offer up their hearts and foreheads for wooden stakes, and then willingly take their places in graves and lock themselves in from the inside. All those Zakharovas, Shamans, Milanovs, Patrushevs, just like in a cartoon, really. Most likely, there will be evasion, medical certificates about serious health conditions, positive references from neighbors, and so on. In other words, everyone will, of course, try to dodge those wooden stakes. So there's absolutely no point, not even the slightest, in yet another performance by the United States of America. And I'm afraid that with Kellogg's statement today, who really did have the reputation of being the most reasonable, this remark has finally put an end to any faith in the diplomatic abilities of the White House. Because something like this, well, only someone who has spent the last 20 years in a lethargic sleep, was woken up about 10 minutes ago, given some Prosecco, dressed in a diplomatic tailcoat, and sent off to resolve a terrible war, could have suggested such a thing.